I think that just as we're living in a nuclear age, we have grown so tremendously in scientific knowledge, it doesn't seem too much to say that men can begin to awaken to the fact that they haven't grown enough spiritually and haven't recognized their spiritual capacities.
Once something like eating is death, then you've struck at the very heart of life. The enemy of the older radical theories may have been the ruling class. But today the stakes of whether we will reform ourselves into a new kind of human being, a new kind of society, whether we will find selves worth being, the stakes of it are simply life itself.
So today I'll be reading from Plato's Symposium. This is near the end of that dialogue, the speech of Diotima. And the reason why I'm reading this is because in my summer seminar, week 3 is going to be about the concept of the ladder of love and what love has to do with, ultimately, with enlightenment, with goodness. And this speech that comes near the end of the dialogue is really, I think, the very heart of the dialogue and really represents, no doubt, Plato's views through this philosophic woman who is giving Socrates is telling what she said, giving Socrates her wisdom. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this. Now, some people are pregnant in body, and for this reason turn more to women and pursue love in that way, providing themselves through childbirth with immortality and remembrance and happiness, as they think for all time to come, while others are pregnant in soul, because there surely are those who are even more pregnant in their souls than in their bodies, and these are pregnant with what is fitting for a soul to bear and to bring birth. Okay, so just a note, this is where you see clearly this tendency in Diotima's speech, which represents Socrates' position, that there is, the goodness of childbirth and the longing for immortality that results, that is like depicted in that type of procreative activity. And then there is this longing for immortality that is more in the soul and that aims at something even higher, and that one is analogous to the other, that the procreative activity with women and childbirth is analogous to the procreative activity involving the soul through, as we will see, philosophy, through dialogue with each other. Okay? And what is fitting? Wisdom and the rest of virtue, which all poets beget, as well as all the craftsmen who are said to be creative. But by far the greatest and most beautiful part of wisdom deals with the proper ordering of cities and households, and that is called moderation and justice. When someone has been pregnant with these in his soul from early youth, while he is still a virgin and having arrived at the proper age, desires to beget and give birth, he too will certainly go about seeking the beauty in which he would beget. For he will never beget in anything ugly. Since he is pregnant, then, he is much more drawn to bodies that are beautiful than to those that are ugly. And if he also has the luck to find a soul that is beautiful and noble and well-formed, he is even more drawn to this combination. Such a man makes himself instantly teem with ideas and arguments about virtue, the qualities a virtuous man should have, and the customary activities in which he should engage, and so tries to educate him. In my view, you see, when he makes contact with someone beautiful and keeps company with him, he conceives and gives birth to what he has been carrying inside him for ages, and whether they are together or apart, he remembers that beauty, and in common with him, he nurtures the newborn. Such people, therefore, have much more to share than do the parents of human children, and have a firmer bond of friendship, because the children in whom they have a share are more beautiful and more immortal. Everyone would rather to have such children than human ones, and would look up to Homer, Hesiod, and the other good poets with envy and admiration for the offspring they have left behind. Offspring which, because they are immortal themselves, provide their parents with immortal glory and remembrance. For example, she said, those are the sorts of children Lycurgus left behind in Sparta, as the saviors of Sparta and virtually all of Greece. Among you, the honor goes to Solon with his creation of your laws. Other men in other places everywhere, Greek or barbarian, have brought a host of beautiful deeds into the light and begotten every kind of virtue. Already many shrines have sprung up to honor them for their immortal children, which hasn't happened yet to anyone for human offspring. Okay, so of course, with the birth of Jesus, we have an example of that kind of honor going to his mother Mary, actually, which is an interesting, thought. But at this time, Socrates is saying, if you desire more than this human immortality, if your soul is pregnant with more, you're going to engage with beautiful people. Now, whether she means physically beautiful, probably actually physically beautiful people who are also well formed in soul. So at the time that this is being written, in the culture that it's being written in, that would mean friendships between men, which sometimes in that culture were of a sexual nature, but not always. But friendships among men whose primary purpose is the procreation of ideas, of works of philosophy, of insights, of creative potential. Okay. And so clearly Diotima is saying these are superior relationships. Now, for some people thinking kind of narrowly, I think they've criticized, this way of thinking because it seems to be sexist, because it seems to be saying that procreative activity with a woman is not as preferable as procreative activity with men. But what Socrates is saying here, through the voice of a woman, um, is that no, it is simply in his view that the procreative activity at the level of physicality that produces children is good and shares in immortality through that instinct to procreate, kind of like the animals also share it. But that procreative activity of this higher kind is better because it more clearly grasps immortality and lasts longer. And you can see that in the world. Okay. That the higher that people reach, the more extended their worldly influence is. So the relationship is kind of like vertical. They share more clearly in the immortality of the transcendent, in the language of this particular speech, the gods. Okay. But through that, they also share in more earthly immortality because they make such a huge impact, right? And Diotima is saying, and so wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't people desire that, if they could do it more than they would desire even human children? So she says, even you, Socrates, could probably come to be initiated into these rites of love, but as for the purpose of these rites, when they are done correctly, that is the final and highest mystery. And I don't know if you're capable of it. I myself will tell you, she said, and I won't stint any effort, and you must try to follow if you can. Now, remember, this is actually Socrates. So he's poking at himself a little bit, because this is actually Socrates / Plato talking here. Okay. A lover, she says, who goes about this matter correctly must begin in his youth to devote himself to beautiful bodies. First, if the leader leads aright, he should love one body and beget beautiful ideas there. then he should realize that the beauty of any one body is brother to the beauty of any other, and that if he is to pursue beauty of form, he'd be very foolish not to think that the beauty of all bodies is one and the same. When he grasps this, he becomes a lover of all beautiful bodies, and he must think that this wild gaping after just one body is a small thing and despise it. So she's treating human relationships there as kind of tutelary, right? Like first you learn through this romantic relationship to appreciate beauty. Then you grow up and you realize that what you're grasping for is beauty itself. After this, he must think that the beauty of people's souls is more valuable than the beauty of their bodies. So that if someone is decent in his soul, even though he is scarcely blooming in his body, our lover must be content to love and to care for him, and to seek to give birth to such ideas as will make young men better. The result is that our lover will be forced to gaze at the beauty of activities and laws, and to see that all this is akin to itself, with the result that he will think the beauty of bodies is a thing of no importance. After customs, he must move on to various kinds of knowledge. The result is that he will see the beauty of knowledge and be looking mainly not at beauty in a single example, as a servant who favored the beauty of a little boy or a man or a single custom. Being a slave, of course, he's low and small-minded. But the lover is turned to the great sea of beauty, and gazing upon this, he gives birth to many gloriously beautiful ideas and theories in unstinting love of wisdom, until having grown and been strengthened there, he catches sight of such knowledge, and it is the knowledge of such beauty. Try to pay attention to me, she said, as best you can. You can see the man who has thus far been guided in matters of love, who has beheld beautiful things in the right order and correctly, is coming now to the goal of loving. All of a sudden, he will catch sight of something wonderfully beautiful in its nature. That, Socrates, is the reason for all of his earlier labors. First, it always is, and neither comes to be nor passes away, neither waxes nor wanes. Second, it is not beautiful this way and ugly that way, nor beautiful at one time and ugly at another, nor beautiful in relation to one thing and ugly in relation to another, nor is it beautiful here but ugly there, as it would be if it were beautiful for some people and ugly for others. Nor will the beautiful appear to him in the guise of a face or hands or anything else that belongs to the body. It will not appear to him as one idea or one kind of knowledge. It is not anywhere in another thing, as in an animal or in the earth or heaven or in anything else, but itself, by itself, with itself. It is always one in form, and all the other beautiful things share in that in such a way that when those others come to be or pass away, this does not become the least bit smaller or greater or suffer any change. All right, so there we have the doctrine of the forms, right? The form of beauty is what this philosopher has come all of a sudden to grasp through all of his activity. He gets to this point where he then sees the eternal idea of beauty and sees that it is what informs, or what all other beautiful things that are partial, imperfect, temporary, all of them relate to, all of them participate in, and become what they are through this eternal idea, the singular beauty. All right, so she says, so when someone rises by these stages through loving boys correctly and begins to see this beauty, he has almost grasped his goal. This is what it is to go aright, or to be led by another into the mystery of love. One goes always upwards for the sake of this beauty, starting out from beautiful things and using them like rising stairs, from one body to two, and from two to all beautiful bodies, then from beautiful bodies to beautiful customs, and from customs to learning beautiful things. And from these lessons, he arrives in the end at this lesson, which is learning of this very beauty with a capital B, so that in the end, he comes to know just what it is to be beautiful. And there in life, Socrates, my friend, said the woman from Mantinea, there, if anywhere, should a person live his life beholding that beauty. If you once see it, it won't occur to you to measure beauty by gold or clothing or beautiful boys and youths, who, if you see them now, strike you out of your senses and make you and many others eager to be with the boys you love and look at them forever. If there were any way to do it, forgetting that food and drink, everything but looking at them and being with them. But how would it be, in our view, she said, if someone got to see the beautiful itself, absolute, pure, unmixed, not polluted by human flesh or colors, or any other great nonsense of mortality, but if he could see the divine beauty itself in its one form? Do you think it would be a poor life for a human being to look there and to behold it by that which he ought, and to be with it? Or haven't you remembered, she said, that in life, in that life alone, when he looks at beauty in the only way that beauty can be seen, only then will it become possible for him to give birth not to images of virtue, because he's in touch with no images, but to true virtue, because he is in touch with the true beauty. The love of the gods belongs to anyone who has given birth to true virtue and nourished it, and if any human being could become immortal, it would be he. This, Phaedrus, and the rest of you, was what Diotima told me, says Socrates. I was persuaded, and once persuaded, I tried to persuade others that human nature can find no better workmate for acquiring this than love. That's why I say that every man must honor love, why I honor the rights of love myself and practice them with special diligence, and why I commend them to others. Now and always I praise the power and courage of love so far as I am able. Consider this speech then, Phaedrus, if you wish, a speech in praise of love, or if not, call it whatever and however you please to call it.